Hello, Red. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Doing well. What about you?
I'm doing quite fine, my man, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Red, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my handle. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Red, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest it in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, Red, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Red, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because, excuse me, because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Red, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes, right? I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing red that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to say nope to you. And getting to read a little bit about you, your insights, your philosophies, how you're offering your solutions, right? These stuffs are amazing. So I've got to say, thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for being here. Truly appreciate you, my man.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, Red. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Red, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Red, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, my man, not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Red, ever since I discovered that light in Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Red on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Red, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, right, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, my man, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Red got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Red, over to you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be beneficial to the conversation here on the show and to help the audience, inshallah. So basically, I'm a digital marketer and entrepreneur. For the last 2 years, I've been working with companies on creating digital marketing departments inside of their companies. And before that, for around ever since 2019, I worked in marketing in different kind of roles in social media, direct marketing and other roles, and slowly moved into strategy and planning. And then finally, I'm creating marketing departments at the moment. I've also been I had a huge interest in entrepreneurship, so I started 3 companies so far. My first company was in freelancing because I started my journey in freelancing. So I wanted to help people in freelancing. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of business experience at the time and I made a lot of mistakes. So I decided to close the company. And then I went to my second company, which was a marketing agency. I started it with a food and beverage company, and after a certain period of time, the other shareholders and founders, we kind of got into a disagreement on how and what's the vision of the company. So I decided to leave the company, and now I'm working on my third company, which makes knowledge and skills measurable. Throughout my marketing journey, I've managed millions of budgets and had teams in different roles. I've worked on more than 50 projects. I've worked on companies to grow them 4 times in 1 year. I've worked with companies in smaller scale to grow them from 0 users to 1,000 users. And in B2B as well, to have over 50 collaborations in 1 year, or other kind of like campaigns and projects that we've worked with. At the moment, for the last 2 years or so, I've been focusing on creating marketing departments. So that includes creating the analytics and the planning and the strategy, hiring the right people, creating the process, and everything between that to actually deliver results in marketing.
That's amazing. And that's an interesting journey right there. And one thing I can pick from your journey so far is the fact that you are never giving up. You see, you keep going and keep going and keep going, and that's a beautiful one. So let's talk about data. How can data help businesses grow?
Perfect. So when you look at like how marketing budget is currently being spent in most companies, over 50% of the budget, 60% it's estimated to be wasted. That being wasted kind of involves a lot of things. But you can imagine that some of the larger companies spending millions, and half of that is kind of wasted for no reason. Data analyzes on what's currently working and what's not working. And by utilizing this data and understanding the data, you can actually tell whether something is working or not. So imagine, for example, having a low open rate for emails. Does that mean that you should stop working on emails? Or does it mean that there is a problem with the current way you are using your emails? This depends on the audience. It depends on your current strategy. It depends on your current products. So there is a lot of information depending on what currently is the data that you have and how do you utilize this data to actually create effective marketing. So having good analytics, measurement, you're actually measuring the right things. You're actually measuring how much does it cost you to earn a customer, how much does it cost you to earn a lead, and then convert them into from a lead to a customer. You're measuring how much do customers actually spend on average, different personas, different products, and so on. All of these are part of the data, and these data would be utilized to actually create the company. So a lot of things kind of go wrong here, and across like the whole data conversation, we can go on forever here. But like, since there is a lot of information, it's kind of like always a problem. Most companies also struggle with not having any information. So imagine, for example, a local store that maybe they don't collect any information. So just customers walk in, buy whatever they want, and then they leave. You have no data on the customers whatsoever. So you don't know how many people actually come on average, how many times do they come, and how much do they actually buy on average. All of the data you'd have is just from the receipts, for example. How many receipts did you have, and what's the average order value? But other than that, you have no information. I'm not sure if people on average come monthly, weekly, or bi-weekly, or any other data from that perspective. So it's kind of like this path from not having any data to having a lot of data but not being able to analyze it, to actually being to analyze the data and have the right information and the right analysis to achieve what you need to achieve in business and grow fast. So, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. So in other words, data is the key. In order to achieve success in business, even in marketing your stuff, you need data. I got that. So what about this one? What lessons can we learn from fast-growing companies?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Okay, sure, I can. I said, what lessons can we learn from fast-growing companies? Fast-growing companies. What are some lessons we can learn from them?
When you analyze fast-growing companies, it's usually related to either tech or growing market. That's kind of like most companies actually grow because of those main two reasons. Either they have technology that's kind of innovative and being able to make them grow really fast, because when they actually sell to customers, for example, they don't have any costs related to, or very minimal costs related to human operations, because they're just repeating uh, or the product is actually just technology. So you can go, even if suddenly 1 million people came to your platform, you are fine to go. You just need more server and so on. Or in very growing markets. So for example, sometimes specific markets grow really fast for whatever reason. Imagine agricultures in some certain times grows really fast, or specific areas of hardware, for example, when, for example, artificial intelligence started. So in specific parts of the market, it sometimes grow really fast. And then based on those two main things, you can see a lot of information on how it's actually being managed. So first you have to know actually what's driving the growth. And then that's kind of what we talked about in the previous point about data. When you see that, for example, the economy on this market specifically is growing really rapidly, then you understand your business model and how can it actually scale better. You'd maybe try to change and innovate in certain parts of operations to make it reach or easier to deliver the products. There could be ways to gaining employees, for example. You can see that fast-growing companies hire really fast, so you have to have a very good process of actually bringing these top talents and actually making them work well together in harmony and in a great culture. And then in, for example, technology startup, you'd see a lot of, for example, fundraising and finance management. So how do you actually bring other people to be interested in investing with you? So fast-growing companies involve a lot of parts. It's the main parts that involve in every business, but it involves innovation through them. You see also parts of leadership, for example. How do leaders think about the organizations itself? So you see things like the leadership is trying to help the organizations more, they're trying to help themselves, figuring out things that and going the extra mile for the company. They are finding the right talent. And how do they actually find the right talent? They are trying to build every part and figuring out problems that come along the way. And kind of all of these moving parts is what we kind of learn when we see fast growing companies. We start analyzing on how do people we start figuring out how do these companies actually grow. So imagine, for example, when we dive into marketing specifically, so there are those two types. There's the creativity part, and then there is the analytics and the data part. You can create a video that's high quality, but then if you can't actually measure if this video brought actually any results or anything, then you can't really see much. Same goes for other parts, like the employees. Can you tell if the employee is actually bringing value to the company or not? And if yes, then how so? Understanding kind of like the markets that you're working with and the customers you're working with you see that fast-growing companies involve a lot of particular understanding about the customers and what's their behavior. So imagine, for example, in the MENA region, a lot of people use internet. So, for example, in Saudi Arabia, like where I'm from, over 99% of Saudis actually use internet. Adults in Saudi use internet. That you'd see that in technology, there is a lot of support from the government itself. So the government's doing a lot of initiatives to grow the tech part. You'd realize some parts about, for example, the Arabic or the language parts, some cultural parts of understanding the behavior. All of these are related information about fast-growing companies and how you see them, and the moving parts of fast-growing companies. So let's talk a little bit about, for example, validation in marketing. So marketing involves a lot of testing. It's trying to figure out kind of like what actually works and what doesn't, and how do we find that these things actually work. It's kind of part of the information that we're supposed to look for and actually try to figure out. So there are a lot of ways to do the experiments. Most people might think of A/B testing, for example, which is trying to do two types of advertisement. One with one specific change, either with like the specific text or specific color or specific call to action or anything like that. And one specific change, and you'd see that only this change made this specific effect, or if it didn't have any effect, or if it might have negative effect even. So you'd see these details and then try to slowly build up from that. But there are also other ways. So if you're clear on specific thing or specific product, you could say that, okay, we'll do different kind of A/B testing on this is kind of the general idea. But then on other details, like for example, I'm not really sure if this product actually works, and I'm not sure who's the right customer. You can, for example, create a landing page. The landing page test is very easy. Yeah. Hi.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. That was a great one. Okay, so we have two more to go, right? And that's a beautiful one. So how do you turn an idea into real business impact?
Sorry, I think your voice is cutting.
Okay,
but
let me
to answer.
let me repeat that. So I said, how do you turn an idea into real business impact? Got it?
Yeah, perfect. So I was talking about it a little bit before, and so the landing page test, for example, is a very good way to experiment with ideas and trying to figure out if they actually have an impact on the customer persona that you have and on society or not. So imagine you have an idea, whatever it is, you want to connect specific partners together. For example, you saw a problem that people want to book barbers, for example. You could slowly go and do the landing page test. You see if people would actually go to this landing page and sign up for this specific service or not. By doing that, you'd actually see if people are interested. So imagine the landing page would have, would you like to book a barber? And all of the details. Then you drive an advertisement into this landing page. If people actually sign up, if, for example, 100 people or 1,000 people came to this landing page and sign up, then you see that it actually has an impact. If not, then it's probably not, you're not either not targeting the right people or the business isn't actually interested. So kind of these are one of the main ways of how to actually test ideas in business and make sure that they actually have an impact.
Beautiful, and I got that. So let's talk about Saudi Arabia. What is unique about starting a business in Saudi Arabia?
So one of the unique things about Saudi Arabia is that over 99% of adults actually use internet, which is one of the highest majority of across the world. You see that people are using internet really so much. And the second thing is that over 70% of people are younger than 35. So you'd see a huge initiative. People are very young and ready to experiment and wanting to do things. There's a lot of government support on technological ideas and businesses. So people want and to experiment with these data, and the government is willing to help them do. So there are so many programs in accelerators, incubators, support for entrepreneurs in different kind of parts,
Mm,
even in investment and VCs. The Arabic culture and the specific culture. There's also a lot of influencers who are driven to help the society move forward. And the bureaucracy is getting less and less in larger organizations because of the support of the government and the younger generation trying to change and improve things. So you see things are very young and starting companies being able to talk to large government entities, trying to figure out some certain things on how to actually
wow.
work in specific parts. So all of this is really making Saudi is really good, and I'm sure a lot of listeners would be or business owners are interested in Saudi because of what they heard on the news, and maybe some of them actually want to even enter into Saudi. So a lot of companies have been international companies have been entering into Saudi in the past few years, and they've been seeing great results and support from the government. Even
Mm,
there are certain grants with over $1 million to help companies relocate, for example, their headquarters into Saudi Arabia.
wow. Wow. That's amazing. And I never knew that. Thank you for sharing that with us. So finally, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful stuff you're doing, or even open your services or programs, how can that be possible?
Perfect. So to finalize things, I want to emphasize the point that marketing is an investment. It's not an expenditure. You can think of it as like I invest like 1,000 reals and I didn't really get a return on it immediately. It's an investment. Sometimes it takes time. You have to figure out what's the right investment and so on. You have to figure out like the data and balance the data and understand the data. It's not just having any data and then immediately acting on it. You have to understand what's behind it. And if you're interested to learn more about me or what I've been up to, or if you want to build a marketing department, that's kind of like my specialty, you can go to my website, redhaalayesh.com. Then again, it's redhaalayesh.com. And I'd be happy to help.
Beautiful. Marketing is an investment and not an expenditure. I got that. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. You see, it means a whole lot, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.